We love you!
Hello and welcome to Tribe Talk, the Galway hurling podcast, with me, Patrick Earley, and David Connors, where each week we'll discuss and divulge all the goings-on in Galway hurling. We'll be taking an in-depth look at the club scene and, of course, focusing on inter-county. In this, Shane O'Neill's first year at the helm, all of which we'll do in the company of some special guests and former Galway greats. So do come along and join us on Tribe Talk, Galway's dedicated hurling podcast.
Well, it's less than 24 hours now till Galway take on Kilkenny in the Leinster Final. The Galway team has just been announced there. I suppose I'll run down through it first just to give everyone that hasn't had a chance to take a look at it, just to let them know who's playing. Pretty much very similar to last time with a couple of small, slight adjustments here. Éanna Murphy is in goals. The full back line is Sean Loftus, Daithí Burke, Shane Cooney. Fintan Burke is wing back alongside Garage McInerney and Joseph Cooney. Pádraig Mannion and Johnny Cohen make up the midfield. Unchanged half forward line in Conor Cooney, Cathal Mannion and Joe Kenny. And then the inside line is Conor Whelan, Niall Burke and Brian Kilkenny. And just to conclude the 26th then, just in case anyone else hasn't seen it, so it's James Cahill is the sub-keeper. Then you have Aidan Hart, Jack Fitzpatrick, TJ Brennan, Adrian Toohey, Sean Loftus, Darren Morrissey, David Burke, Jason Flynn, Evan Nyland and Sean Blaheen. I suppose exciting enough team again, Patrick. I suppose the big boost would be, the fitness and availability of Daithí and Fintan. I suppose that's probably the main talking point we'll take from this. It's great to have Daithí back anyway and Fintan named and fit to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in the build-up to a lot of games, it would have probably come as more of a surprise that they were named, but the news has been fairly positive for the last week or 10 days that both were going to be in fairly good shape. So it's just nice to see it confirmed there in the starting team. But certainly a big boost to have two players of that calibre fit and ready to go in your defence for a game like this and a challenge that's coming our way for sure. Yeah.
It's going to be like, I suppose, the addition of them purely from a physical standpoint is massive too. There's probably not too many lads on the panel that can replicate their power back there, in defence. And because Kilkenny have a couple of seriously powerful attackers, we'll say, in Walter Walsh, TJ and Colin Finlay. So the addition of Daithí and his return in particular is massive for Galway. And he's named at full back now. We just don't know. Maybe there could be a change there, a slight alteration before come throw in, or maybe he's detailed to mark TJ or something like that, or maybe he will go in there, and if Colin Finlay comes in, he'll take him. How do you see it playing out? Do you think he will start full back now? I suppose from a fitness point of view, it's probably likely he will start full back. There'll be no massive running to do. I know he'll have a lot of short bursts of sprints, twisting and turning and that, but there'll be no long bursts and runs, from maybe half back up to the half forward line or anything like that. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see because, well, above a lot of other games, there's just the man marking side of things is going to be very important this game because there is going to be designated or TJ Finlay and probably Walter Walsh as well, just with his sheer size and scope and athleticism. You can't just chuck anyone on him. In fairness, you wouldn't be expecting Sean Loftus to go on Walter Walsh and come out the right side. It's just not a good matchup. So that'll all be taken into account. We're just chatting off air about where lads are likely going to line up. It depends and it'll adapt as the game goes on. I reckon, because we're looking at our full back line. You obviously have Daithí there in the middle, but either side you've got two fairly inexperienced lads playing the biggest games of their fledgling inter-county careers, so naturally you'd expect Kilkenny to target that and to target those two corners, and in an ideal world they'd love to be throwing TJ into one corner and maybe Colin or Walter into the other, but I think you'd imagine Galway would be too aware about that and won't allow that happen. But in that regard, it probably comes as a bit of a surprise that Aidan Hart was left off. I would have thought a very versatile player that could play across any of the six positions in the backs, and would have been a good lad to maybe have to be able to throw back into the corner if you wanted to, if one of those lads are in there, but you're just saying there that you heard a bit of a rumor that maybe picked up an actor in the week, so nothing concrete.
No.
in that he's named on the 26th, so obviously not too bad, whatever it is. But maybe that's part of the reason he hasn't started, because I can't remember the last time Aidan Hart wasn't selected to start a game that he was fit for. And you can nearly include the league in that, never mind the championship. He's just been an ever present for a decade now, really, like, hasn't he?
Oh, that's for sure. He's a valuable asset. You just touched on his versatility there. In a game like this where Kilkenny can kind of their front six can interchange any way at all. Like you could literally see TJ at any position. Would say Finley's more than capable of coming out now. He's not nearly as effective further out the field, but the rest of them can definitely interchange as well between John Donnelly, Billy Ryan, Walter Walsh, Owen Cody. They're all interchangeable, and if you had Hart available and flying fit now, those are just murmurings. We're not 100% sure whether he's injured or whether it's just a knock or maybe just something slight that just means he can't start, or that maybe they're confident maybe getting 25 minutes out of him yet, and maybe they don't want to risk him ahead of it's not. I know what there's a Leinster tight final at place, but it's not the be all and end all. You're kind of looking at, you want everyone 100% flying for, you say, when it's straight knockout now, which it will be after this one way or the other, whether it's a quarter final or a semi final. That's how it's going to be. So maybe if we touched on it during the week there, was if we didn't think Daithí was going to be 100% right, we just didn't think we'd even risk him, because there's still more important games coming down the track, and we really don't want to recurrence of the injury. So maybe it's something like that with Hart as well. Now, he is a loss. There's no point saying otherwise. He's a serious loss there, because he matches up well against Kilkenny in a lot of positions. But I suppose it's a great opportunity for the rest of the lads as well. I suppose Justin Cooney is he's probably still learning the ropes back there at Intercounty. He's any amount of experience at club level, but I suppose it's another step up in a defensive standpoint. I know he had a kind of a run there against Clare in 2018, but the experience of Hart would have been crucial. So it's going to need Daithí and Garage to really take the bull by the horn, shall we say, and instruct the boys around them, and even Pádraig Mannion kind of encouraging, like putting a bit of advice out there, and telling the lads where they should be, and what the crack is there. It's a great opportunity for them, though. It's a big test for this defensive unit now, particularly a youthful defensive unit, isn't it, Patrick? It's a good test, and we'll really kind of see where we are defensively after Kilkenny, because they've got a lot of players there who can potentially hurt us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kilkenny are going to be positive, in how they play the game, how they approach it. So there's not going to be the luxury of having your sweeper in front of you like you did against Wexford. And even a sweeper only protects you for so many balls. There's plenty of balls you still have to go out and win 1-on-1. But still, with those balls coming down the middle, it's definitely an extra bit of insurance there. 4 of our first 7 names on the team sheet are playing having their second starts in Championship hurling, which is, when you look at it that way, there's serious inexperience there. But as you say, it does increase the importance on the lads around them, the Daithís, Garages, and Joseph Cooney's, and ahead of them as well, Pádraig and Johnny Cohen. They have to be able to offer support as well, coming back the field, which no doubt they will. You saw that, and plenty of evidence of that in the Wexford game. But you talking about Kilkenny's versatility in attack, looking at that defence as well, you could say the same about them. They're happy enough going anywhere across those 6 positions as well. Have done it with their club, have done it up along the underage level, which is it's good to have as well. It's not like we've 2 cornerbacks who are cornerbacks and would be struggling for breath if they go out 24 yards further out the field in that back line. They're probably more at home in that back line defending. So it's a good luxury that we have as well. You could see if it's a thing they're starting with Colin and TJ both in the full back line, are you going to see Garage drop back and one of the cornerbacks come out? Very, very possibly. I don't think you want to be exposing Shane or Sean Loftus in one-on-one situations with either of those two throughout the game, really, especially early on. Until they find their feet somewhat, because it's going to be a big step up, and it could take 20-25 minutes for them to actually get to the pitch of the action, which is totally normal. It's going to be the toughest game they'll have played in their career so far. So it's just about managing it really and watching that main trio of threats. And obviously, it's not there's plenty of threat outside of that as well, but they're certainly the main three that they'll have to watch.
Sure. I suppose one area of the field that isn't changed is midfield. Probably no real surprise, although David Burke probably, you could have considered him. Maybe Adrian Toohey would have been another one that probably would have been pushing hard there. You're not surprised that the midfield is left the same after the performance the last time?
No, definitely not. Just given how well they went and how well they worked together, and they really complemented each other. I thought Pádraig and Johnny, and that would have been their first real experience of playing that role together. So no, I was really impressed from the last day, and Johnny wouldn't be obviously the most flashiest of players, but savage effective in what he does, covering acres of the ground and well able to get up and support and take a score when the opportunity presents itself. But him doing that role frees up Pádraig as well to go looking for more ball, and you want Pádraig Mannion with ball in hand in that middle third. He's going to nail good quality ball into the boys inside all the time, and if not, he's well able to score from out there as well. So it worked very well the last day, and you'd be hoping himself and Cahill being close together as well is a plus, because they work so well together obviously, and they have such fantastic chemistry on the field. You saw that at times as well the last, and you'll be hoping to see a bit more of it as well the next day. Be hoping to see Cahill on more ball the next day as well. But yeah, the argument is definitely there for David Burke to come in, but we don't know what's happening behind closed doors in Shannon as well. And based on what we saw against Wexford, those two boys are working very well in midfield, and it'll be harsh to upset it, and I for one, I'm glad they didn't anyhow.
Yeah, I suppose midfields these days, they probably aren't really traditionally two-man midfields in a way. Like Cahill probably is very likely, after what he done in Nolan Park last year, to drop back the field, kind of pick a pocket of space and pick up points from deep, because that caused absolute consternation in Kilkenny. So the story is, then do they go with him, or what I mean, just do they have just a designated man, which creates a gap there in the at 6 for Galway to exploit, or does the man sit and let Cahill pick off points to beat the band? So it's an interesting conundrum there. I can see Cahill Mannion having a huge bearing on this game. It's just on the back of what he did last year against Kilkenny. He's kind of brimming there under the surface. I know he only scored only 2 points the last day, but on his day he's capable of being Galway's best player every time he takes to the field. Really, he's a serious detail there. Particularly around the middle third. So you'd expect him to have a big bearing on the game after the contribution of last year. And, we think he's just kind of simmering along. We expect a big performance from him. And I think this weekend, this one in particular, could be a time where we see the best of Cahill Mannion, should I say.
Yeah, well, certainly we certainly hope so, because he's a game winner when he's on form, you want him to be forcing Kilkenny to make that decision to push out on him and hopefully leave a bit of space in behind for the full forward line, because that's what we want to do. That's what everyone wants to do, is you want to leave an ocean of space in front of your full forward line, and they achieved that for large periods against Wexford the last day. Kilkenny are going to be smarter for sure, but still, you want them playing right in the edge of being slightly uncomfortable in that they're a bit further out the field than they'd like, and then the boys inside, they're going to have to be sharp when the ball does come in, that they nail it first time. They don't give them a chance to get back, So there's certainly interesting little side notes to kind of see how they play out. If you see our wing forwards pulling out the field, are you going to see a corner forward maybe coming out somewhere between the full forward line and half forward line again to try create that space, that one-on-one maybe for wheeling inside the edge of the square, or Brian Concannon. You certainly you'd like to see that unfold a few times as well. Then one-on-one in there. If they get the ball in turn, they're only heading one way, which is really positive. So plenty of little interesting side notes as I said to look forward to, and look, we have the aces there to go win this game. So just hopefully we can go out and do it now.
Yeah, one, I suppose, mini shock we'll call it would be the introduction of Niall Burke into the starting lineup. I know he came on the last day against Wexford, and he was probably there or thereabouts anyway. to the starting team. So were you surprised to see him come in, or were you kind of expected maybe I just spotted Sean Blaheen as well as being introduced onto the bench as well. So maybe there's something there physically that Galway have looked at. Could there be something that that the management are looking to exploit by Niall is probably that a small bit more physical than Jason, shall we say? Maybe a small bit more robust in his play. So, what is your thoughts on the selection of Niall? We'll say to start.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a curveball. Anyhow, we didn't discuss it during the week, so we didn't see it coming. But like Jason definitely isn't being dropped based on performance the last day, because based on performance last day, he starts over Niall Burke for sure, because Niall only had the however long to make the impact. But so to me, that does read that there's some tactically, it's a tactical move for me anyhow. And as you say, Blaheen coming in on the bench, so that's another interesting one, and that just sheer physical scope. Now you mightn't see action at all, but does it lend itself to kind of the approach that Galway wants to take to the game, and also what they're expected from Kilkenny? Do they feel that they need even more size and scope in attack? We're looking at our attack there, it's bloody huge, and even Kilkenny, he punches above his weight in that regard as well, and as we mentioned about the Wexford game, he's a feisty enough character as well on the field, so no, we certainly have plenty of physicality to throw at Kilkenny there now, and we're expecting Joey Holden probably to start for Kilkenny as well, which will boost them, and it's another good man marker that they have in their arsenal, but still, they've 6 quality forwards to there now, and for 70 minutes, and it's going to be very hard for them to do it.
That's for sure. And just in terms of adjustments tactically, then I suppose our bench is looking strong here. Just looking at the names on it alone, you think there's so many options and so many different things you can do. You can bring on, All Ireland winners in the likes of Daithí Burke, Jason Flynn, Adrian Toohey, Aidan Hart. There's and then there's the younger lads, say the fresher faces in your Evan Nylands or your Sean Blaheens or your Darren Morrisseys or Sean Lina and TJ Brennan, Jack Fitzpatrick. There's any amount of options and any amount of game plans, and even kind of style to play Galway can implement through changes from this bench, Patrick, isn't there?
There is, yeah. They're in a great place, regarding that you've 3 All Ireland starters and another who came on and played a huge part in winning the game to come in, that's 4 or 5 subs straight away. And then the younger lads that would be less experienced, they're all after coming in off the back of outstanding club campaigns and have been outstanding at club level for a number of years now. So no, we're certainly we're very well stocked in that regard, but just the level of talent and not only in maybe one section of the field in attack or in defence, it's all over the field, and you have lads there like Hart and Adrian Toohey who can come on in practically any line of the field you want and make an impact, and David Burke as well then for a Cameron sort of a presence in that. In the second half, if things are getting a bit tough going, what a lad to be able to come in. And obviously Jason as well up on attack, who's we know the impact he can bench. Younger lads as well coming in, as I said, off the back of brilliant club campaigns, your Sean Linans, your Evan Nylands and Jack Fitz and TJ and whatnot. We're certainly we're as well stocked as I can ever remember us being anyhow, which is very positive going forward.
That's for sure. And I suppose finally then just to wrap up, I suppose after this weekend we'll have a lot better idea of where we actually stand in the grand scheme of things. I suppose Kilkenny are the benchmark for anything. I know Limerick are probably the team out ahead at the moment, but Kilkenny will always give you a good benchmark of where exactly you are, because they challenge you in so many ways. Physically, they'll challenge your work rate, they'll challenge your skill levels, they'll challenge everything really. So come the weekend, we'll either be facing into quarter final maybe on a low ebb, or facing into a semi-final with great, steam built up, and more than likely also the price of avoiding Limerick until the final, which is something that should be considered in itself. It's this weekend now it's a big one for this Galway team, and it's probably supporters can really judge and really kind of, if we do come away with a victory, it's probably time we can allow ourselves to get fairly excited if we want. We'd be very, very close to reaching the All Ireland final if we were to overcome Kilkenny at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even as you say, if they do lose, they're still far from the end of the road. Like, you know, you're into a quarter final, and you do get that idea, that sense of where they actually are at. Like, you know, which is worth a lot too, because you know, if you go in and you beat Wexford, and then you have a similar sort of a Leinster final against a team that are underperforming, and you're heading into a semi final that way, maybe you're not in the best sort of shape where we know what we're going to get from Kilkenny. We're going to get a serious test. Like, so, if they come out of it, yes, they're serious All Ireland contenders, and probably second in line to Limerick. If you know, if not, maybe in our bias eyes, maybe the top team around. Like, you know, so. And if not, well, then they're going to get an idea of where they have to get to, you know, and they have another chance to do that. So yeah, as you mentioned, you're going to learn an awful lot here this weekend, because there's not going to be a repeat of what happened against Wexford, and if there is, well then yeah, we're serious contenders, but I can't see it happening, to be honest. No more than no, as we mentioned earlier on the week, a 1 point win would do absolutely lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and even if that point is a dodgy free at the end, we'll take it at this point as well. We won't be too upset. So look, we'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone tuning in, and please God, we'll be back next week, analysing a Galway victory over Kilkenny. You know, they're always sweet. So if we have the chance to look back at one of those victories, we'll be absolutely delighted. As always, thanks a million, Patrick, for joining me, and we'll, if you like what you see, hit the like, share, you know, subscribe to us on all the social media channels, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a million.